Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Evazine. Blast off, blast off, blast off, blast off. Come blast off in my time machine.
Yes, a mission to bring you the hottest stuff going on, whether it's in the Uintah Basin, Las Vegas, wherever it is. And tonight is no different. We have an amazing guest we're about to call in 60 seconds or less. His name is Rick Williams. And the guy's for real. And another thing that is for real is HeroParanormal.com. Check it out. Become a patron. And get into the archives. Have some fun. We'll keep it coming. So without any further ado, let me get into what's going on with Rick. We're going to give him a call here. Hey, Rick. How you doing? Can you still hear us okay?
Hey, Ryan, what's up, buddy?
Hey, it's good to be talking to you tonight. I know that there's a lot going on in the area that we're probably going to be discussing. And words, I know, like, words kind of don't describe the passion that you have. And a lot of people talk about going up there and this, that, and the other thing. But I'll be honest, when I'm up there, I only see yourself and maybe a few others, and you're there often in the hot spots. So when you go up there, what have you seen that keeps you going back?
Oh, Ryan, I'm just addicted to the place, first off, and from the first time I went out there, we were seeing lights, and we would stay at Bottle Hollow. Well, so at the beginning, we didn't even know where it was at. We just took some GPS coordinates and a map, and we found it, and it was just, I was like, oh my gosh, it's real. So anyway, we ended up staying at Bottle Hollow, and that's where we go is Bottle Hollow, and we'll stay out all night and skywatch, and I haven't seen any features, but we've seen so many different lights and things that we cannot explain that it's just weird, whether it is a man-made vehicle in the sky or not. It's just nothing I've ever seen before. And every time I go out, we experience something. And that's why I go back. I had a couple experiences in my county. That I live in Utah County, which is probably 2A. And I've had experiences there, and I've just been hooked, and I've never seen a consistent, except up to the Bottle Hollow and seeing things in the sky that that's why I go back, because I'm never disappointed.
Yeah.
I go with my wife a lot, and we would go out, and the first night we were there, we were sitting out on the dock at Bottle Hollow, right by where the boats launch into the reservoir. And it's dark outside, and we're watching the sky, and it's nothing going on. Well, we look over, and we see what we think is an airplane. I'm pretty sure it's an airplane, I'm thinking. That's an airplane. But it has a spotlight shining from the rear end of it down towards the ground, but the spotlight stops midair. And I've never seen that in my life. I don't know if it's man-made, probably is, but I've never seen any flying thing do that. Well, it curves, and it ends up flies right over our head. And it's got nothing but blue lights. Not blinking lights, no red lights, no green lights, but a bunch of blue lights. And I can't make out the shape of this thing when it flies over our head. And my wife looks at me and says, "That's not an airplane." And it made no noise. And I was just dumbfounded, and we just watched it go off, and we just looked at each other, and that's about what happened with that. And I was like, we got to keep coming. So the next time we go out, I'm sitting out there all night, and I see some blinking lights, and up toward, looks like they're up by the stars. They're blinking, and they'll blink, and then you won't see them, and then they'll blink again, and I'm waiting. I'm kind of trying to predict its direction in which this thing's flying. And it should be about right here. Well, it's not even, next time it blinks, it's nowhere even near, it's a ways away. And I just blow it off and I don't think nothing of it. It's probably a satellite, and I just blow it off. Well, that was that night, and the same night, that's all I saw, and I was like, I'm kind of disappointed. Maybe I ain't going to see nothing cool again. Well, 6 o'clock in the morning, I wake up, and I look out the window, and I'm looking towards the ranch, and there's a road from the campground that you can see that goes around the reservoir. Well, I can tell it's still dark outside. The sun hasn't come up yet, and I can see this light, and it's just one light. And at first I'm like, is that just like a motorcycle headlight pointing at us? Well, I get my binoculars out, and I see the same light, and then right next to it, I see the little red one. Smaller one, and they're both kind of bobbing. Well, I can't get focused in to tell what they are. And so I get out my field scope, and I get it set up, and it's wobbling, and I get it, and then I got to find the light again, and I focus, and I get focused in on it. By the time I do all this, I'm on you probably should have seen me. I was on top of the car, laying on the windshield with my feet on the hood. I probably look really good to the natives. But anyways, I'm watching it. By the time I find it again, there's 8 lights, and they're all parallel, and from left to right, and they're all equal distance apart, and they're all kind of bobbing up and down slightly from each other. And, well, I'm trying to get my wife out of the car, and she don't want to get up. So she don't even witness it. She won't even get out. She's kind of scared. We go out there, and we've left because we'll get the heebie-jeebies sometime. We'll leave at like 2 in the morning when we're planning on staying all weekend. We've done that once, and she got the heebie-jeebies when we left, and it was kind of a weird night. But anyways, I'm watching these 8 lights. I'm trying to get her up. She won't get up, and all of a sudden, they all start moving to the left. I'm not sure what direction that is, but I want to say it's to the east. They all start moving to the east, I believe it is. I get out there, and I don't have my mountains, so I kind of lose my directions out there. Mm-hmm. Well, anyways, they all start moving at the same time like a train, and they're going left from my point of view. And then the front one stops, and then they all collide into each other one at a time, boom, boom, turn into one, and then it just blinks out, and it's done. And I've looked in that area in the daylight, and I can't figure out what that was. That was probably one of the weirdest things we've seen out there besides my recent sighting. But I can't. That road is higher than the ground behind it, and the maze. But there's nothing out in between that. And there's power lines, but there's no roads out that way, and nothing. You could tell these lights were higher than the road. You could see the silhouette of where the road was, and then you could see the lights above it. So I know it wasn't on the road. It was above the road, and I don't know what it was. And that I'm still mystified about that one. Mm-hmm. So let's see. Fast forward a little bit, and this last time we went out, my wife wasn't with me. I took a friend that's been itching to go out there. He's never been out there, and I thought I'd take him out there, and I took him out, and he didn't seem to like be as enthused as I was. Like I don't think he really was into it as much as I was. But I'm sitting there, and earlier I was telling you about this light that I seen blinking around, and it should have been going in a straight line, but it was way off from where it should have been, and I blew it off and didn't think nothing of it. Mm-hmm. Well, I see the same light, and it was strobe. It would strobe in the sky, and I counted 5 seconds in between it before it would blink again. And when it would not blink and there was no lights, you couldn't see it. You wouldn't even know it was there. And it would blink again every 5 seconds. And it did this probably 20 times, Ryan. And then it just stopped. And there was no clouds in the sky, all stars. And it stopped blinking and never blinked again. It never kept going. I don't know what it meant. It just stopped. I don't know. I'm not saying it's aliens. I'm not saying anything, but it's kind of weird in my eyes. It just stops, and it never blinks again. Right. We have to have vehicles in the sky, or planes have to have lights on them for a reason. So they're not head-on collisions. And, you you got your left and right, and if it's coming at you or away from you, all that stuff. I'm not a pilot. I don't know all the details of that, but I know we have to have lights. Even the military, and we're not in a war zone, you have to have lights.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty trippy. Well, not even a half hour later, I'm sitting at the picnic table, and this is right after I got in trouble by the host at the camp because I was venturing off over to the docks. Well, you're not supposed to leave the area, your camping area, I guess. You're not even supposed to go around once it's 10 o'clock. You can go to the store or whatever, but you're not to go walk around the lake and stuff. I don't know why they don't want you to, but you're not supposed to. I don't want to mess with the tribal, so I try to obey, but I didn't know I couldn't go over to the docks. Yep. Where there was less lights and I could see the sky better. Well, I'm sitting there and I see this shooting star, what I think is a shooting star, and it's already low, but it comes in like a shooting star, and it has a tail, and it slows down right above us, and this tail starts catching up to it, right? And I don't know what distance it was, but maybe 2 inches of tail from my point of view when the tail was about to catch up to whatever was slowing down. Right before it caught up to it, this thing zoomed off again. And I don't know if you've seen anything like that, but I'm just seeing weird stuff out there, and that's why I keep going back, and I'm not being disappointed. And I've seen some of your pictures, and I can't wait. I want to spend the night at your place. That's what I need to do.
There does seem to be a lot of similarities to a lot of the sightings. Those spotlight sightings you were just discussing, man, that sounds like some really interesting information. And honestly, Rick, I see yourself and Amanda, right, all the time up there. I mean, it's. Yeah. But it's a good time when you're in northeastern Utah, the Uintah Basin. There's something about it. Have you had any opportunities to speak with locals, Rick, and have they told you any stories or experiences?
I've talked to one person that's a local, and she said she wasn't allowed to say much, and she didn't really go into a lot of detail, but she was at the reservoir. She showed up in the morning, and the reservoir was 3 feet, she says, of foam covering it. There was like 3 feet of foam covering the lake. Well, I find that really odd because if you ever heard of the I won't say story because I don't like the word story, but the event at Shag Harbor, where the UFO flew in and went into the water, and the sailors and the locals went out there thinking it was a plane that crashed into, and they got out there and there was all this foam. I think they said it was green. She didn't describe what color the foam was at the reservoir, but as soon as she told me the foam, I automatically thought of Shag as the foam from when it went into the water.
Right.
As far as the natives go, I haven't really talked to any, and I've talked to 2 of them at the gas stations, but they don't want to. They act like they don't want to talk about skinwalkers and stuff. So I try to respect them and not really bother them about it. They take the stuff a lot seriously than we do, and I don't want to encroach. So I kind of try to keep boundary with them.
Yeah.
There was another time we were passing the ranch. The road that you turn to go to the ranch, and I was looking up, and I seen a silver stint in the sky, like a silver little dot. And I was there for a second, and when I looked at my wife to tell her about it, I looked back and there was nothing. Maybe it was from the window, I don't know, but I seen a silver dot, a little tiny dot, and when I looked back, it was gone. So I don't even really bring that up much because that's nothing to, I can't really, in my own head, I can't give it much credit because it was, you know what I mean? I don't know if it was a reflection maybe it was a reflection off the window. I try to keep an open mind about this kind of stuff, but there's just some things that I can't explain away to myself. So it's an amazing place, and I can't get enough of it. I actually want to get a couple people together and copycat Rich Oliver's story. Mm-hmm. That's another really good story that happens not on the main property, but it's happened around in the Uintah Basin itself, near there, you know. Mm-hmm. And that's my favorite. I hate to use this word story again, but the experience that they had and how it ended for them, that just blows me away. Where this guy has an abduction experience, has something stuffed up his nose, a tracking device, and who knows what it is, that he gets from his hypnotized session to regress his memory. Well, then he gets brain cancer and passes away. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of odd things that don't add up that go together with his story. I mean, it goes together. I'm not taking the credit, but it's like a synchronicity. The nose thing, the brain cancer stuff. My wife was healthy before we started going out there, and she ended up getting breast cancer. It's one of those things that we don't. What did she? Was she? If I never would have taken her out there, would she have had that? So I have a hard time wanting to take her out there. Things can happen to people. There's stuff going on out there that can harm people. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking maybe my wife could have been one of them, you know. But I'll continue to go out there, and I need to get. I don't have a video camera. I'm not serious. I'm not like a guy that makes my own paranormal equipment and has a radio show and blah 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 blah. So right. I got a few things to watch the sky and stuff, but I don't have all the equipment. Some of these guys that do this for a huge hobby. It's a hobby of mine, but I haven't got that far into it where I got all this equipment to film shit and all this stuff. But I'm getting there, and I will hopefully get something on footage when I go out there. But yeah, to this day, I haven't got nothing on footage. Everything happens so fast. If you don't have it on a tripod and ready, and you could even have it on a tripod and ready, right? And you might not catch it because some of the stuff happens pretty quick.
Right.
And I don't know why a plane out there with nothing but blue lights that has a spotlight on it. Why does it have it shining into the ground? And then the spotlight don't just fade away. It stops. You can tell it just stops from the spotlight. It just stops midair. And it's just weird stuff. And I don't even know what that could even be.
Coolest story.
But
coolest.
The Rich Oliver story. If your listeners haven't heard this guy's experience out there, they should really listen to it. But what I was getting at, I would like to duplicate it. I know that sounds kind of weird, and it might. I've stopped at that place. I know where he camped, and then I'm getting more closer to the details to what time, because I want to duplicate the same day, the same time. There's only 3 people, and response that he got and his friends. I don't want to pass away, but I do want to see if I can duplicate that, because his story is so amazing that it sends chills down my spine.
It's an interesting story, and yeah, it was basically, and I've heard that the number has something to do with it, the powers of 3, 6, and 9, depending on the groups and the ritual. But yeah, it was a group of medical practitioners. They were in the medical field. They went out. They had some animal blood. They practiced a ritual. And I know that, there have been a lot of out-of-the-box rituals and summoning and invocations and stuff practiced in different areas. This particular time, though, there was a pretty wild story that ensued afterwards. Do you kind of want to go into it, Rick, and explain to the listeners what happened more or less?
Yeah, from the best of my knowledge, I sure will. So these 3 people, 2 buddies and Rich's wife or fiance, I believe, They went out there. They were supposed to go with a bigger group of people. Well, the other people flaked out, backed out, didn't make it. And I believe me and my wife, our first time there, we finally stumbled upon it, but I don't think they did. And they end up in this field up the side of the road. There's a lot on that road, your lights off in the noon or something.
Mm-hmm.
But they end up camping at this spot, and they say they feel like they were dumbed down, felt like they were given something to kind of just mellow them out, and they felt stupid, like they were all giddy, and they just felt like something entered their system, I guess. And they were having experiences, and they didn't even think they just thought they were mundane. That was the word they used, was mundane. And they had the tents and stuff set up. They were the coyote circle, which would be nice, and that's not really easy, but they started guy cough. Seemed like he was walking around him, coughing every once in a while. And I believe they even had they seen an Indian man, I believe, and that's part of the story that has a link to your story. Mm-hmm. The Indian that you picked up and gave a ride and woke up at Bottle Hollow. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if it's the same guy, actually. But I want to say they seen an Indian guy there wearing a flannel shirt or something. But
yep.
They didn't know everything. They had to go into get what's it called when you get put under by someone. I can't think of the word off the top of my head. Sorry, guys.
Like hypnosis, like a regression.
To get rest of memory that. Well, yeah. So they had the one guy, I think his name was Matt Groan.
Yep.
Well, he gets bit on the leg by some creature he describes that in my brain, I picture it as like a horseshoe crab. That's what it sounds like to me. Well, it comes out and takes a chunk, and I guess he even has a wound. I haven't seen pictures, but when they're on this radio show, I guess that he even had a wound from where it bit him.
Yeah.
So there's proof right there. Well, Rich Oliver goes out to use the bathroom a couple times, and he's out there urinating next to his truck, and he looks over and he sees the outline of a human and says, "Hey, there's someone." The next thing you know, he's getting picked up by the head, and he's dangling, and he's like, he says, "I remember feeling like I was too far off the ground because I remember kicking my leg and I could hit the hood of my truck." Mm-hmm. So I knew I wasn't too far off the ground, but he says, "I'm looking into this thing's eyes, and it's nothing but space. It's like looking into space, a vastness, dark, black space." And he didn't remember this the next morning. When they woke up the next morning, they had sore throats, they had headaches, they were ornery, they were like really irritated with each other for no reason. Well, I might jump around. This story is so exciting that I just want to keep talking about it. But
that's awesome.
When in the morning they roll up all their stuff, there's these black burns under their tents, and it was a black spot under their tent, but it wasn't under the whole tent. It was just where they were laying. But when they first wake up, Rich Oliver's buddy's like, "I'm sorry, I couldn't stop him. And Rich is probably thinking, like, "What are you talking about?" He didn't remember half the stuff right away. It came to him, and then he had the therapy that brought back his memory. And they all three had similar experiences under hypnotherapy. Mm-hmm. There's the word I was looking for. And how do you get three people to have pretty much the same experience and not have it be real? Well, even before, in one of their therapies, they have two humans that show up in the radio show that they're on talking about this. I don't even know the name of the radio show. I just look up. You guys want to hear it? Just look up Rich Oliver. It will pop up, and there will be a drawing of this creature.
Yeah.
And it's one of the creatures that he's seen that he drew. He was an artist. He was a musician. Where was I at? Oh man, I forgot where I was at. This is my first time talking about all this stuff and then having other people here. I'm a little nervous. But
no, you got this, man.
Anyways, where was I at? They all three had the same experience pretty much. And one of the things that he got out of it is that he's supposed to bring people keep bringing people to there, keep bringing them. Like that was the message that they wanted him to keep bringing people. Well, one of the memories is these two guys, and in the radio show they were saying they were like in doughboy outfits, like the doughboy sailor outfit. Well, I heard from credible people that that's really not what they were wearing, and they were wearing toxic outfits that you would wear if you were to go into you had to have the whole head bodysuit on, like if it was a big disease or something. Yeah, I don't know what they're called.
Like a biohazard type scenario.
Hazmat suits.
Yeah, man.
They were wearing hazmat suits. From what I heard, and this was someone that got told it by the son of one of them. So sounds pretty credible to me. Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, these two guys come up, and they got with them, and to me, I see it as a floating blue orb, a blue meanie, just floating right between the two of the guys as it walks up to him. It seems like to me. I don't think they're carrying it. They just make it sound like it's floating along with, but they have a blue meanie with, and that ties into the ranch, and it's. I just want to go duplicate it and see if I can experience anything wilder than that. Mm-hmm.
I think there's something to it.
Indian that they've seen is probably the same Indian that nabbed you. Mm-hmm. And I think I've heard someone else say they've seen an Indian. So it kind of ties everything together that way to me, for me. Anyways, but and I'll shut up about this guy's experience. It's a really good one. It's my favorite out of Gwen and Terry's stories, but they all got good stories, but that's my favorite one for some reason.
Yeah. And
there's one other one that's pretty good that I know you've heard of it. I don't know if your listeners have, but I don't know the guy's name, but he's neighbor to the ranch. And I don't know if I should say his name. I don't know if he would be happy about that or not, even if I knew it, and I think I do, but I won't say it. He's been there a long time. He owns property there, and he had a experience outside one night where, and I think it went on for a couple days, a week or something before it all boiled down to what happened. But this neighbor was having problems with, I won't say a skinwalker, but I picture it in my brain again as a werewolf. To me, is when I visualized when I got told the story. It was a werewolf. He kept coming on his property, messing with his livestock and dogs, and this guy shot it in his backyard, and it ran off. Well, the next morning, this guy has Men in Black, FBI, CIA, I don't know who they were, but they were knocking on his door, and they were warning him. I don't know how they even knew what happened, but they knew, and they were there to warn him not to do it again. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to hear more of that if you know more than I do. That's a really good story, experience from out there, from another credible person, just like Terry. My grandpa was a rancher, and I never met a rancher that was full of shit. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I can use that on your show, but I've never met one that was, and they were always pretty good people, and they didn't blow their stories out of proportion or nothing.
Right.
And my grandpa was a straight up guy. That's the feeling I get with Terry. Terry was there to make a living for his wife and his family. He wasn't there to get famous. He's still not famous. I guess he is in a way, but he's not famous. He never made a dollar off it. And none of the people around the ranch have had experiences. And I'm sure every neighbor has had experiences that hasn't even talked about it. Mm-hmm. And that would be really interesting to get into more of that too.
Yeah.
Because there's people that have been there since the Shermans and then after the Shermans, and I bet they got something I want to know.
Yeah, just the fact that the ball lightning is so prevalent, and it looks so crazy in the area when you have these storms come in. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's scientifically explained, but wait until you see ball lightning in real life. It just looks out of this world, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Can I talk about my experience, some of my sightings I had that wasn't in the Uintah Basin that even got me interested in the unknown?
For sure.
It happened in Utah, about 2.5 hours away from there. And, Utah is kind of a hotspot, I think, not just the Uintah Basin, but a little bit of everything, because we have Dugway, which is pretty much Area 52. And we have, sorry, I'm outside, and my boss just drove by in a diesel honk, sorry.
No worries.
Anyway, we got Area 52. We got all the radiation downpour from Nevada that came this way and blew through. And Utah's got quite a few UFO events that have happened here, not just out there. But so I was in Springville, Utah, is where I was living, and it was about 12 o'clock at night, and I had just finished eating dinner, and I was sitting out at my porch smoking a cigarette out on the porch in the doorway. I was leaning against the door jamb, and I caught movement in my eye, the right. Well, first I just thought it was my smoke, and I didn't really pay attention right away. Well, I kept seeing this movement, so I look, and as it's flying, it's right above me when I see it, and I see this giant V. This V is probably the size of 2 school buses side by side, and then 2 more side by side, bumper to bumper with the other 2. Just one wing. And then the other wing, and a total of 8 school buses parked in a V-shaped formation. Mm-hmm. It was about as big as it was. Well, it was dark outside, and I don't know how high it was. It seemed pretty low to me. I want to say it was around 250 to 300 feet in the air. I know it was lower than the mountains what were behind me where I was standing. It was already low, and as it flew over, I'm looking at the scene, I'm like, that's a big hang glider. And I'm just looking at it, I was like, that's no hang glider. Well, it was a perfect V. People out, it was a stealth or something. It was no stealth. I know what a stealth looks like. It does have a triangle shape to it, but it has a middle. This thing was just 2 wings and to a point. It was a V. That's all it was. Mm-hmm. Nothing in the center for a cockpit. It was just 2 wings that were in a V shape. And as it flew over, Ryan, it blocked out. I could see the outline of it. I could make out a perfect outline, and I could tell it was darker than the sky. Whatever was solid, it was blocking out the stars, and the stars were disappearing and reappearing as it flew over me. And it didn't make a sound, didn't have a light, nothing. And I just thought, what the heck is that? And as it passed over this tree in the driveway, and I lost sight of it, and I immediately ran out to the road, and there was nothing there. I couldn't see nothing. I couldn't see nothing ahead of where it was, the direction it was going. It was going south toward Vegas.
Yep.
And it was going pretty quick. It lasted probably 10 seconds altogether, maybe a little less, but it just happened so quick, and it didn't make a noise, and I think that's what disturbed me the most. But it had no lights, no sound, no nothing, and it just seemed to like hover by real fast. It was, and as big as it was, it should have made a noise. I didn't hear a slight hum. I didn't hear nothing. So I went out for like 2 weeks, same bat time, same bat channel, and I sat there night after night. I never seen it again. It never came, and then month after month, year goes by, 2 years go by, 3 years go by, and I've moved around the corner, and I live on the same block. I've just moved around the corner. I've told her my story, and my close friends know my story, and they say they believe me, and I don't know if they say that just to make me feel good or what, but a lot of people. Well, anyways, we're sitting there, and I'm watching the sky. Ever since that first VIC, and I always watch the sky. I don't care where I'm at. I'm always looking up at the sky wherever I'm at, and I'll catch it, because I'm always watching. If I'm outside, I'm watching. Well, we're sitting there, and I could see, she's sitting right next to me. I could see the glow of her phone and reflecting off her face, and so she's looking down at her phone. And I see this V. Well, this time it's a lot smaller, and it looks like it's farther off, and it's not as dark outside. I can't see the stars. It's not bright outside, but it's not dark either. It's in between. Well, this V happens to be white. It looks like a V-shaped cloud, Ryan, and it's flying south too, but it's flying over Utah Lake more. It's over by Utah Lake, and it gets over by probably Sandy Beach, Lincoln Beach, over by West Mountain, and it banks and goes to the west, out towards Dugway area. And I elbow her, and I'm like, look, do you see it? You see it? And she's like, yeah, I seen it. And I didn't believe her. I don't think she saw it. Well, I looked down at my phone, and as soon as I looked down at my phone, she's elbowing me back. Look. And a second one flies by, Ryan, and it looks the same exact as the first one. I don't know if maybe it did a circle. I don't know. But the first one banked to the right, went west, and it was just gone. And another one, I don't know if there were two of them or one of them, and it just did a big giant circle real quick. I don't know.
Wow.
But it flew in the same. They would hit each other if they were at the same time.
Right.
It flew at the same altitude. It was in the same. It banked about the same place and went the same way, and it was going the same speed. Everything.
Amazing.
And I know she's seen that one. I've seen it, and I got this feeling that it was like a cloud. I think they have technology, whether it's ours or theirs, I don't know, but they can make it look like a cloud.
Yeah.
It looked like a cloud, and there were two of them.
Amazing,
Well,
man.
those were in Springville, so I've seen 3 Vs. Years go by, I'm with a new woman who I end up marrying and love with all my heart. Well, we're sitting in our backyard smoking, same scenario. We're in Spanish Fork now, and we are living in our own place, not staying with friends no more or whatever. We're in the backyard, and I'll never forget the day when it happened, because the night it happened was the same night this guy went down to the Spanish Fork Airport, got in his boss's airplane, Cessna or whatever, and he flew it down to Payson, I believe it was, and crashed into his house. Trying to kill his wife. It was on the news the next morning. So
I remember that.
What night the date this happened. I didn't keep track of the dates or really all. I couldn't tell you when I seen those other V's exactly what day it was. Well,
I remember that.
We're sitting back there, and I have no idea this guy crashed the plane that earlier that night or even later that night. I don't know when we seen this craft, if it was before or after. I just know that the next morning that was on. That's how I know the date of our experience. Well, this one, the V's, I'll give you credit. Maybe they were bolt and gears, and it was man-made. We have some technology. I'll give you maybe those V's are ours with technology we don't know about.
Yeah.
I don't know, because they were so big, they were so quiet. I don't think they were. I'm not saying I think they were of another species.
There's a lot of Delta.
Is what I think they were. Well,
reports, yeah.
Anyway, this thing comes at us, and it's oval shape. It's blue. It's like a translucent blue. I felt like you could see into it, but I couldn't really tell. Mm-hmm. And it was maybe 6 seconds of seeing it, but this thing flew straight at us. It was coming north. It was an oval shape, looking blue, glowing, quiet, not making a noise. Orb. It was an orb, but it was an oval shape, blue, plasma-looking thing that I can't even describe it really, Ryan. It's hard to explain.
Unreal.
But it's flying at us. It flies right at us. I'm seeing it, and my wife, I'm like, look, because I've told her my stories, and yeah, I believe it. But she believes me now. Well, she looks up, and I can see her looking up out of the corner of my eye, and as soon as she looks up and sees it, this thing stops on a dime and goes east, takes a right angle turn, like automatic, boom, boom, and it was gone. And I looked at her and said, now do you believe me? So it was kind of cool to have witnesses for some of these, but I tell you what, that thing made me lose a lot of sleep, and I know it wasn't man-made. Maybe the V's could have been. I doubt it, but we cannot make a blue plasma looking. It's like an energy ball or something, but it's intelligently being operated. Maybe I kind of have a theory. Maybe it's its own life form. It is a life form. Maybe it's not a ship. Maybe it's a life form. I don't know yet. But I hope one day I'll know. But the views were cool. All the lights I've seen out at Skinwalker Ranch and all the unexplained stuff out there that I've seen, that blue, being that close to that blue orb, oval orb, was amazing, and I want to see it again.
So cool, man.
So I'm hoping to see it out at the ranch. Maybe that's why I go out there, because I don't get disappointed out there.
So cool. So cool, man. It's so cool that you're sharing all these experiences, and I'm with you. I think there's a percentage of them that there is a biological aspect to some of these lights. But thanks so much for sharing all these stories, Rick. I hope to have you back soon. I know that we can't go on forever, but thanks for coming on with us, and I hope to talk to you soon. And until next time, take care out there. Say hi to Amanda, and I hope to see you guys up in the magical area soon.
We will. We'll definitely see you out there. We'll have to get together, brother. Thank you.
You bet.
Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Evazine. Blast off, blast off, blast off, blast off. Look, Visine for the third eye. It's levels and you can catch me where the birds fly. Blast off in the time machine, blowing on that light green straight line with beams. Beezy, take it easy what they tell me. Boy, I'm so deep, not even Lucifer can help me. And I'm going so hard, not even Lucifer can stop me. Talking bitches, Somali, Maseratis, and paparazzi. I'm going kamikaze as soon as a nigga trip. Two-step, I do mines like this. DeLorean, historian, her story, and we partying back to the future like Michael J. Fox. I throw that cock, she feel some type of way. She high, but it ain't gonna change a thing with this pimpin'. I ain't with that simping. Can't you see we on a mission, baby? Come blast off in my time machine.